crowd, he began to dismantle the high-pressure pulse generator. It was the single most critical component of the old pump, and it belonged entirely to him. There was a specific motor that still had the power to pump water all the way up to the back mountain. It was his own private property, purchased at a steep price through some well-placed contacts. The villagers, however, had always dismissed it as nothing more than a piece of junk. His second cousin, seeing him approach it, let out an alarmed shout for everyone to watch out. He claimed Ethan was going to sabotage the system and yelled for the others to stop him. He warned them not to let Ethan take what he called the collective property of the village. And so, several villagers rushed forward to block the door, convinced they were protecting their own. Ethan simply smiled sarcastically and pulled the original bill of sale for the motor from his backpack. He held it up alongside the liability waiver they had all just finished signing. He told them to open their eyes and look closely at the proof of who actually owned the machine. The receipt clearly showed he had paid 80,000 credits of his own money for it. The agreement also explicitly stated that he was entitled to take all of his personal belongings with him. He pointed out that he hadn't touched a single screw of the pump room or the pipes they wanted so badly. A heavy silence fell over the room as his uncle's face turned a sickly shade of pale. Looking at the black ink on the official document, the old man found he couldn't utter a single word. By the time Ethan finished dismantling the grease-covered motor from its base, he was drenched in sweat. While the machine looked battered and peeling on the outside, those who truly understand machinery knew better. It was a high-power industrial motor built with first-generation pure copper coils, a rare find indeed. To get water from the ravine to the highest orchard in the village, he had worked tirelessly. He had spent weeks scouring used equipment markets across 3 different cities to find this exact piece. He had spent exactly 80,000 credits to bring it here and keep it running over the last 8 years. No matter how unstable the voltage became or how long it had to pump water, this old motor had never once failed him. However, weighing over 400 pounds, he couldn't lift it alone and had to slide it across wooden planks toward the truck bed. The rough hemp rope sliced into his palms, and the stinging sweat began to blur his vision. Instinctively, he looked toward the gate, and there, in the empty lot by the entrance, we see dozens of villagers from his own town gathered together. There was Aunt Jane, Uncle Bill, and all those familiar faces he had once helped so willingly, often spending his own midnight hours repairing their irrigation pipes for free. They all stood in the shade of the old locust tree, yet not a single person stepped forward to help, nor did they offer even a polite word of farewell. Instead, they covered their noses as if they feared the smell of grease on his body might stain them. Their eyes filled with a mixture of undisguised contempt and suspicion. At that moment, his cousin Isaac raised his phone and began filming him without stopping. Isaac mocked him, telling Ethan to be careful not to throw out his back with that piece of junk. He shouted for everyone to look at the man who used to be the village's so-called water king. He claimed Ethan had deceived them for 8 years with nothing but a scrap industrial motor. He complained that everything reeked of used oil and questioned if the water from such a machine could ever be good for their orchards. He even blamed the poor fruit sales of recent years on this very pump. He insisted the root of